there are so many scenarios. I showed you these color-coded charts yesterday. This color-coded chart is just for seeds 1 through 5 possibilities in the NFC. This is all from NFL Network research. These 2 pages are the 64 permutations that would be spitting out different results of seeds 5 through 7 in the NFC, including also the 4 seed and a little bit. This is the 32 permutations for the American Football Conference possible playoff seedings. We've got that up on the screen for our Roku channel viewers. Very nice, very beautiful color code. A little bit of Roy G. Biv in there. It's a nice spectrum. So there's so many different possibilities. And what I have come up with, just to give you a general sense of things and how things can go completely off the rails, I have come up with a top 5. I think that is worthy of beginning this program with. Top 5 wildest possible Week 18 results. Hit it.
Top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Rich's top 5.
Top 5 wildest possible Week 18 results. And in case you don't think that my vision of what is possible, 20 some odd years of doing this thing with the NFL, how things can go completely off the rails. If you don't think I have the ability to see, guess what? Brought my glasses today.
Because yesterday you couldn't have done this.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Well, we could have done it, but it might have been a little bit more wobbly than it's about to be. I think I've got all my information buttoned up, and I can see it. Number 5 on the list. The number 5 on the list of the wildest possible Week 18 results. The Lions wind up as the 2 seed anyway.
Come on, Joe. Come on.
That is a wild result because we're all talking about, who was eligible, who wasn't eligible, and how there's ripple effects and how they're going to wind up having to go to Dallas and they're going to see Matthew Stafford stroll into their building in super wild card weekend anyway. This is how it happens. The Lions take on the Minnesota Vikings, win that game, and they look up at the scoreboard and they see 2 NFC East divisional losses, Dallas and Washington, Philadelphia at the Giants. That puts the Lions in as the 2 seed, the Cowboys in as the 3 seed, with Matthew Stafford potentially going there in likelihood, and the Philadelphia Eagles losing at the Giants. They go in as the 6 seed. How about that? That is entirely possible for the Detroit Lions to wind up being the 2 seed. Oh, pardon me. And the Eagles going as the 5. That's how it works. The Eagles would go in as the 5. Dallas would go in as the 3. And Minnesota losing to the Lions would put the Lions in as the 2. So there you have it. The Philadelphia Eagles need to win, and the Cowboys need to win. And if that happens, then the Lions just go in as the 3. And we're still talking about Brad Allen, who, please, can we have a clean game on Saturday night? And everybody who's a big man coming in to try and catch a pass from the offensive line for Baltimore and for Pittsburgh, it's this motion up and down on the chest
eligible,
and saying the words, I am eligible. Just make sure he says, you know what, you can also hand him a note. If I'm Tomlin,
that's a really good
I'm
one.
Tomlin
Really
and I'm
good one.
Harbaugh,
Really good
I will
idea.
have somebody on the staff put out a note just like, hi, my name is fill in the blank. I am eligible on this play. My number is this, and then just like hand it to Brad.
Ask Gene Steratore for the index
There's
card.
paperwork,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Just
There's
like-
paperwork to back you up. All right, number 4 on this list. This is wild. This is really wild, and I almost thought about making this number 1, but this game sounds so insignificant. I can't put it there. But the 4th wildest possible Week 18 result is that the winner of the Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders matters. And you're like, wait a minute, they're both eliminated, Rich. What are you talking about?
That you took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay, here's how it matters. If Jacksonville loses at Tennessee and Pittsburgh loses at Baltimore to start the weekend, they're both 9-8. And again, Indianapolis and Houston does not end in a tie. Somebody wins it. Okay. All right? If Jacksonville and Pittsburgh both end at 9-8 together, and Denver wins at Vegas to make it a 3-way tie at 9-8. Okay? Hear me out. Then Denver, Pittsburgh, and Jacksonville all being in a 9-8 mosh pit together means that Pittsburgh's loss to Jacksonville at home in Week 8 does not matter, because in a 3-way tie, if one team hasn't beaten both, head-to-head doesn't matter. So then you go to conference, you go to other tie breaks, you wind up at the 5th tie break, and strength of victory would matter, and Pittsburgh goes in as the 7th seed over Jacksonville because Denver would make it a three-way tie. Whoa. Having this tiebreak mean something. And if Vegas wins, then Jacksonville goes in, because then there wouldn't be a three-way tie between Denver, Pittsburgh, and Jacksonville. And Jacksonville's Week 8 win in Pittsburgh would matter. So,
I can feel it.
9-8 Pittsburgh and 9-8 Jacksonville. If that happens, meaning both teams can lose and still make the playoffs, Pittsburgh would go if Denver beats Vegas, and Jacksonville will go if Antonio Pierce finishes up with a win to say, I should be coach here over the Denver Broncos. That's how this game would matter.
Nice.
All right?
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
So, put a pin in that. Number 3 on the top 5 wildest possible Week 18 results list is the 8-9 Falcons win the South, and the 8-9 Vikings make the wild card as the 7th seed. That can happen.
What?
Here's how it happens. Green Bay loses at Chicago. They're out.
Not impossible.
Seattle loses at Arizona.
Okay.
They're out. Tampa Bay loses at Carolina.
Oy.
All right. Atlanta beats the Saints.
Yep.
Therein is the 8-9 NFC South winner. And then Minnesota beats Detroit. They're in as the 7th seed. That is how that happens.
I'm going to see what that parlay pays.
And so Atlanta would be an 8-9 divisional winner hosting either Dallas or Philadelphia. And Minnesota would be an 8-9 7th seed visiting either Dallas, Philadelphia, or Detroit.
Wow.
That's wild.
That is pretty wild.
Number 2 on this list.
Pretty wild.
Everybody, it gets easier here. Number 2 is that the Eagles win the East anyway.
Oh.
Listen, here's what's on the line. It's as simple. Eagles beat the Giants while the Cowboys stubbed their toes in D.C. I'm sorry, TJ, to keep speaking these things potentially into existence.
Are you really sorry? Because
I'm not. I am
like,
sorry to you, but here's the deal, Eagles. Eagles were 10-1 once, right? Remember that? Remember that?
Yes,
Remember that?
they were 10-1.
You know, it used to be 10-1 and then didn't win the division. The 1986 Joe Must Go Jets. That's the last team to do that. Hey, Philadelphia, you want to be in that boat. You just don't want to be in that boat. You know, at least you can make the playoffs. Those Jets didn't. Those Jets didn't have an opportunity to get an 11th win. So, you don't want to be that team. Don't be that team. Don't be like the Joe Walton, Joe Must Go Jets. Okay? I wear the scars. I could feel it. So there you go. That's number 2 on the list. And the number 1 on the list, wildest possible Week 18 result, is that the Buffalo Bills missed the playoffs entirely.
Oh.
Folks, it all starts, as we know, on Saturday with the Steelers at the Ravens. Let's say the Steelers win. They're 10-7. Then in the night game, Houston and Indianapolis plays and somebody wins. There's no tie. Winner of that game is 10-7. Then the Jacksonville Jaguars win in Tennessee. Winner of that game is 10-7. If the Buffalo Bills then lose in Miami that night to wrap up the regular season, they would be 10-7, and they are out because their 10-7 record would include a 6-6 conference record. And the Steelers, if they win in Baltimore, would give them a 7-5 conference record. The winner of Houston and Indianapolis would have a conference record above 500. Houston would be 7-5. Indianapolis would be 8-4 in conference. And then Jacksonville's win would make them 10-7 in conference. The Bills lose in Miami. They're 6-6 in conference, which means losses at the Jets, at New England, at Cincinnati. That one against Denver, where they had it won if it wasn't for that extra man on the field to erase a missed field goal and give them a chance to make it.
Bills should be the 1 seed in the AFC.
Those losses would come home to roost and knock the Bills out of the playoffs entirely.
Wow.
And that's my top 5 list. Okay, why not?
All right, we'll get one more.
If you noticed,
Imagine that.
If you noticed, none of these games at all included a tie.
Because has it been a tie this year?
Well, the Colts and the Texans played to a tie last year. So if that game ends in a tie, all bets are off. I'm just going to throw out this last one for you. Any important game ends in a tie. Everything I just said, I won't even explain it to you. I don't even, honestly. There'll be slide rules and projectors in the league offices. I have no earthly idea what happens. Even if it's the Broncos and the Raiders game, that might matter for 2 9-8 teams, right? Well, I guess it would matter that it would hurt the Steelers probably, because the Steelers need Denver to have the same 9-8 record to eliminate their loss at home to Jacksonville, being a wild card tiebreak that can be put on the table to eliminate them. So any important game ends in a tie affects everything I just said, and would make this segment twice as long and have you say, Rich, are you drunk? So that would, by the way, also be another wild result of this weekend if we do see. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you. If we
Come on,
somehow
Jay.
see.
Come on,
I wasn't even planning on it, but how wild would it be?